We're going to be discussing some areas of conflict of interest that we urge you to keep in mind throughout the year, and in particular, as you go about completing your Form 700 submission. Some of you will be familiar with this information. Some of you may not be. That's okay. Um, the topics are the Ethics and Sunshine Ordinance Training Declaration. We'll do an overview of the Form 700, who files and when, how to file, what is reported. We will also have a section for resources and filer support, which is the Form 700 portal. As mentioned before, if you have any specific questions to your situation, please open a support case at the Form 700 portal. There is a link in the chat right now for that. And then we will have a Q&A session. And from here, I will pass it over to my colleague, Anna, who will introduce herself and start with the presentation.
Thank you so much, Kevin, and thanks everyone for joining us today for this information session. We'll start with a little overview on the Ethics and Sunshine Ordinance Training Declaration, which, as you know, is also an annual requirement for the City and County of San Francisco officers. So we'll go into that in the next slide. The Ethics and Sunshine training is also completed electronically using NetFile. It has the same assuming and annual filing requirements as the Form 700, meaning that the Ethics and Sunshine Training Declaration is filed within 30 days of assuming office, and every year thereafter by the annual deadline, just like the Form 700. The Ethics and Sunshine Training Declaration is required for most elected officials, board and commission members, and department heads, with the exception of the entities that are listed on the right-hand side of the screen, namely the Community College District Board of Trustees, San Francisco Unified School Board of Education, Health Authority Board, Commission on Community Investment and Infrastructure, Housing Authority Commission, Transportation Authority of San Francisco County, and the Law Library Board of Trustees. A clarification note that is important: the Ethics and Sunshine Ordinance training must be completed and the declaration of completion signed via NetFile, not through the city's learning management platform, SF Learning, but via NetFile. So that's an important thing to keep in mind. Due to the observance of Cesar Chavez Day on April 1st, this year's deadline to file the Statement of Economic Interest as well as the Ethics and Sunshine Training Declaration will be Tuesday, April 2nd of 2024. If you have any questions around the Ethics and Sunshine Training Declaration, please feel free to drop your question in the chat or send us an inquiry via the support portal. With that, I'm going to move on to the Statement of Economic Interests, and also known as Form 700. On the next slide, I'll start with a brief overview and introduction of why we file. And I know this is familiar to many of you, but it does help me go over the reason of why we do this. As you know, the Political Reform Act prohibits public officials from using our official position to influence a government decision in which we have a financial interest. So statements of economic interests, also known as Form 700, are required to be filed by public officials and designated employees throughout California each spring, and within 30 days of assuming office and leaving office. The Form 700 provides transparency and ensures accountability in two ways. First, it provides necessary information to the public about our personal financial interests to ensure that we're making decisions in the best interest of the public and not enhancing our personal finances. Second, it serves as a reminder to the public official of potential conflicts of interest so that the official can abstain from making or participating in governmental decisions that are deemed conflicts of interest. So after this introduction, in the next slide, I'd like to go over who files the Form 700. So the Form 700 is mandated for all elected city officials, all city department heads, board members, and commissioners, as well as designated employees and consultants. For today's session, we will be focusing on the first group, and each one of you files with the Ethics Commission. For elected officials and members of some commissions, your filings are transmitted to the state, which is handled by the Ethics Commission and the e-filing system on your behalf. So you may ask yourself, how do positions get added to the Conflict of Interest Code? Every other year, there is a city-wide process where departments can review and update their list of positions that file the Form 700. The next biannual review process will take place later this year. As you know, if you've been filing already, all filers file their Form 700s electronically. If you occupy multiple positions, you may be able to combine your statements in the e-filing system into one expanded statement that lists all of your positions. You will be disclosing at the highest disclosure level required. Additionally, and this is not a topic we will cover today, candidates running for city elective office are required to file statements of economic interests with the Department of Elections after they've declared their candidacy. Again, we won't be focusing on that today. Lastly, for this section of the training, I'll go over filing requirements and due dates. So a brief reminder about the three types of Form 700s, and you will find this on the next slide. There you go. Excellent. Thank you. So there is a Form 700 when you assume office. That means when you start your job or begin performing the duties of your position. This assuming office statement is due within 30 days of that start date, and it's a one-year look back from your start date, so that members of the public will know your financial interest as you begin the duties of your position. Every year thereafter, while you're in office, you will file your Form 700 annually, no later than April 1st. The only exception is when April 1st falls on a weekend or state holiday, as it is the case this year. In that case, it moves to the next business day. The annual filing, which is the topic of today's information session, covers the year before, the calendar year before. It's just like filing taxes. In 2024, we're filing taxes for the year 2023. This is similar to that. You will also file a statement when you leave office within 30 days of leaving your position. You generally file any reportable assets that you held in the portion of the current year that you were in office. Let's look a little bit more in detail at the exceptions. As I mentioned in passing before, this year's due date has been moved to April 2nd, 2024, because April 1st is a state holiday, Cesar Chavez Day. When the deadline falls on a weekend or a state holiday, it is moved to the next business day. To avoid confusion, the deadline to file the Ethics and Sunshine Training Certification is also April 2nd, 2024. Another exception to keep in mind is if you assumed office near the end of last year, between October 1st, 2023 and December 31st, 2023. In that case, you will skip this year's annual statement. The idea is that you're assuming office already covered almost all of that year anyway. Also, if you just started your job, and back to what I said before, if you started your position between October 1st, 2023 and December 31st, 2023, your next annual statement will be the annual statement in 2025. If you just started your job in the first part of this year, from January 1st, 2024 until April 2nd, you're not going to be filing an annual statement for that position because you didn't perform the duties of that position the year before. If you do not qualify for any of these exceptions, that is, if you assumed office before October 1st of 2023, you do have an annual statement due by April 2nd. Please note that the annual filing is already available on your NetFile account, so no need to wait to file. You can file right away, but you have until April 2nd, 2024 to file on time. With that, I'm going to pass it over to Kevin, who's going to go over how to file your Form 700.
Thank you, Anna. All right, so now we're going to discuss how to file your Form 700. You can, it's just a few clicks to get to the Form 700. So we're going to go through those instructions, and if you want to open another tab and follow along with me as we go through the instructions, please feel free to do so, and you can kind of test it in real time. So the first step is to start at the Ethics Commission website, which is just sfethics.org. We will also share that in the chat. Um, on that page, you will actually see a banner on the top left of the page that says it's time to file your Form 700 and complete training requirements. We'll zoom in to show you that the banner is located on the top left of the website. Right there, perfect. And what you'll do there is just click on the banner. Clicking on that banner will take you to our filer page. There is a screenshot of our filer page on the right-hand side of the slide. Underneath some announcements and highlights, you will find a button that says e-file Form 700. We'll go ahead and show an animation to kind of expand on that right there. So you click on that button to go to NetFile, and if you're navigating along with me, you should now see the NetFile landing page. And next slide, please, which will look something like this. Once on the NetFile landing page, you'll enter your email address and password to log in. If needed, you can use the lost password link below the password text box on that page to request a new password. So if you lost your password or just don't know your password, you can click on that link, and what happens is you'll receive an email to reset your password. So complete this form online by the due date using this e-file system. This is NetFile. Paper submissions are not accepted. And if you were testing the website navigation with me to NetFile, you can go ahead and close that out and come back over to the webinar. And we will move on to what happens when you log in, what it looks like when you log in. When you first sign in, this is what the NetFile dashboard looks like. It's called the Filer dashboard. If you notice at the very top, you can see your disclosure category. And we'll talk more about this a bit later, but yeah, it should be highlighted. There you go. And on the right-hand side, you'll see links to video tutorials and reference materials with more information on how to start a filing, how to amend a filing, as well as reference materials on what to disclose, frequently asked questions. On the bottom right, you will also find a link to our support portal where you can contact a member of our engagement and compliance team with specific questions. Now, if we look back to the center of the screen or center of the page, to fill out your form, you're going to look under the filings to complete section, the current filings to complete. And to fill out your form, you're actually going to click on the create box that is just highlighted on the presentation. And then you're going to click the start selected document button right there. And that will actually open your Form 700. If you have more than one statement to file, you might be able to combine them, and you'll see there'll be two different create checkboxes. If it is allowed in NetFile, you can click both of them and then click Start Selected Document. If you occupy multiple positions where you file Form 700, so let's say you're a designated employee at the department level, but also serve as on a city commission, you can combine both annual filings into an expanded statement for all positions that you hold. If you file an expanded statement, you must disclose according to the broadest disclosure category that you hold. Below the filings to complete, you'll see filing history. From there, you can view or amend a statement that's already been submitted. Keep in mind that you cannot delete a completed filing, but you can always amend, and we'll get into some more details about amendments in a little bit in this presentation. If you can't finish in one sitting, you can just log out. And when you log back in, you can either edit or delete the filing that you started. So when you log back in, if you've already started a statement and you log back in, you won't see the checkbox anymore there. You'll see two separate links next to where the checkbox is. One will say edit and one will say delete. If you want to continue on with the draft that you started, you would click the edit button. If you want to delete that draft, you would click the delete. So, right, we can move on to the next slide. And this is really about starting your filing. Once you start your filing, you'll be taken to the Form 700 cover page. Your Form 700 cover page is pre-filled with the information entered when your filing officer created your NetFile account. Your contact information should be business contact information, not personal contact information, as this is a public document. So what you'll do is just scroll down and review all of your contact information, and you'll also see the different schedules or sections of the form. You can follow the on-screen prompts to complete the form. There'll be a save button that you can click along the way. And once you're done, you can submit your statement online before the deadline. And as we move to the next slide, we want to mention again that this Form 700 is a public document. E-filed statements are available to the public online with limited redactions. The search portal to find these is on the San Francisco Ethics Commission website. From the ethics homepage, you will just click Disclosures, Statement of Economic Interest, and View Filed Statements in order to see this page that we're looking at right here. And statements without redactions are available by request to the San Francisco Ethics Commission. And we'll move to the next slide. We'll discuss amending a filed Form 700. You can amend your filed statement. At the bottom of your filer dashboard on NetFile, you'll see the e-filing history, something that we just looked at a moment ago. This is where you would go and file an amendment. Amendments can be made to your current or prior year's filings. They can be made with any time without penalty, and they should be made as soon as the error or discrepancy is known. It's very important to note that when you go to amend your filing, make sure that it's the right year of the filing that you need to amend. So if you make a mistake on the statement that you filed last year, you would amend that statement, not this year's statement. And only the amended pages will be visible on that amendment, not the entire original filing. And we can move on to the next slide where we're going to discuss failure to file, late filing and enforcement. There's no provision in the law to extend Form 700 deadlines. The only exception being is when they fall on a weekend or holiday, and then the Form 700 would be due the following business day. There can be no exceptions based on leave, sabbatical, out of the office, internet issues, etc. So please plan ahead. Late fees of up to $10 a day, up to the cumulative amount stated in the late Form 700 or $100, whichever is greater. For non-filers may be subject to disciplinary and or enforcement actions with potential fines up to $5,000 per violation or 3 times the cumulative amount not properly reported. So we can't stress enough how important it is to file on time. And there's another slide. We'll go over a few more things. In addition to the penalties mentioned before, if you do not file a required filing by the due date, and this includes the Form 700 as well as the Ethics and Sunshine Training Certification, you are disqualified from participating in and voting on any matter that is listed on your board or commission agenda. A public announcement will be made by your commission secretary or department head informing that you are disqualified, and it must be recorded in meeting minutes. Once you file, you are automatically reinstated, but you cannot take action until you get your filing submitted. And with that, I will move it back over to Anna, who will talk about what is reported on Form 700.
Thank you so much, Kevin. So in this section, we'll go over what is reported. We'll do an overview, and what is disclosed by your position is determined by your department, department or board or commission, based on the range of duties and responsibilities of your position. So this is called disclosure categories, and we will go over what that means in more detail in the next slide. So as I mentioned, what is disclosed by your position is determined by your disclosure category as it is indicated in the San Francisco Campaign and Governmental Conduct Code. Positions that have more potential to influence governmental decisions and risk for conflict of interest usually require more disclosure. How to find out your disclosure category? Well, there's a couple of ways to do that. When you go into your NetFile account, as Kevin demonstrated, you will see at the top of your NetFile account dashboard your disclosure category. You will also see a link to informational material in PDF format that provides more information on what to disclose based on your category. Disclosure categories are also described in the city's conflict of interest code, listed alphabetically by department. It is important to know and be familiar with your disclosure category to understand what you must report and who is a reportable source. For example, most of you as city officers will file under disclosure category 1. This category requires disclosure of income, including gifts from any source, interest in real property, investments, and all business positions in which you're a director, officer, partner, trustee, employee, or hold any position of management. If you file under disclosure category 2, for example, you may have to disclose a narrower range of financial interests that varies based on your position and your department. If you have questions on what your disclosure category is, please contact us at 415-252-3100 or send us an email at ethics.commission@sfgov.org. or a ticket through our support portal, and we will be happy to provide that information for you. Now, on to the next slide. We'll go over, we'll do an overview of the different sections of the Form 700, including the cover page, as well as the different schedules. Schedules referring to the different categories of assets. You can skip past any schedule that you do not have something to report or any changes to make. Just ensure you update your disclosures if you do have changes to report from one year to the next. So back to the cover page. On the screen, on the right-hand side of the screen, there is a screenshot of the paper form, which you may have filed in the past, but just as a reminder, we no longer accept paper files. That said, when you complete your filing and you click, review and then submit, the final form is going to look like something like this, like the Form 700. At the top or the beginning of the form, you will see the cover page. And to reiterate what Kevin said, your contact information, it's best practice if it is your business address and business telephone number. This is pre-entered by your filing officer, and we encourage business address and business telephone number because this is a public form. On the public portal, some information is redacted, such as your address and phone number. But upon request, any member of the public can get an unredacted version. So best practice is not to use personal information such as personal address or personal phone number, but business contact information or city-issued contact information instead. Once you submit your form, this will be sent automatically to the Ethics Commission. So there's no need to send it or forward it or print it and send it to the Ethics Commission since we receive it electronically. On this slide, we'll go over Schedule A1, just some brief reminders. Schedule A1 is where you will report the investments in which you own less than 10%. This includes the same type of interests that are owned by your spouse or registered domestic partner or dependent children. For example, some examples of reportable items on this schedule are stocks or corporate bonds. For example, if your investment, like stocks, corporate bonds, are worth $2,000 or more in a business entity located in doing business or planning to do business in San Francisco, these must be disclosed on Schedule A1 if your disclosure category requires that the investments be reported. For example, if you have an item in a trust and it is a reportable asset, such as stocks or corporate bonds, you would report them if they're worth $2,000 or more and reportable per your disclosure category. Stocks and bonds in diversified mutual funds or blind trusts typically do not need to be reported. This is because diversified mutual funds need not be reported. Same with government bonds. Keep in mind that the definition of doing business in the jurisdiction is not limited to whether the business has an office or a physical location in your jurisdiction. In other words, if the investment is reportable based on your disclosure category, you most likely have to disclose it. If you have specific questions about section or Schedule A1, please submit it via the Ethics Commission support portal. In Schedule A2, some reminders on this schedule. Schedule A2 includes types of investments where you, your spouse, or registered domestic partner own more than 10%. So typically, if you're a business owner, you will report it on Schedule A2. On Schedule A2, report any source of income or client that was a source of $10,000 or more during the filing period. Trusts, including living trusts, are reportable if they contain reportable assets. For example, if the trust is located outside San Francisco, it is reportable if it contains assets that are located in or doing business in San Francisco. Keep in mind that this includes a 2-mile radius of San Francisco city-controlled property. For instance, if you own interests in real property held by a trust, and the property is within 2 miles of the San Francisco airport, it would be reportable. In contrast, if the trust contains only your personal residence or savings account or municipal bonds, it's not reportable. So in terms of Schedule B, a quick overview on this schedule. So Schedule B is for interests in real property. So report interests worth $2,000 or more in real property owned within the city. It could be real estate, land, it could be owning a parking space in the city. And again, this includes a 2-mile radius of San Francisco city-controlled property. You do not need to report your personal residence, such as a home or a vacation cabin, if used exclusively as a personal residence. However, if you have a rental income from property, including, let's say, if you rent out a portion of your personal home, or if you're reporting part of it as a business, disclose that portion. Tenants' names are reported and not redacted if the Form 700 is requested as part of a document request or through the San Francisco Library kiosk. There is no need to report loans from commercial lending institutions made in the lender's regular course of business on terms available to the general public without regard to your official status. However, loans from a private lender that total $500 or more and are secured by real property may be reportable. Next, we'll look at some reminders on Schedule C. So Schedule C is income, loans, and business positions. So on Schedule C, do report income of $500 or more during the reporting period. That includes income from nonprofits, of sale of property such as a home, car, bicycle, etc. You must also report the source of income to your spouse or registered domestic partner if your community property share was $500 or more during the reporting period and reportable under your disclosure category. Governmental salary is not reportable, and report your business ownership on Schedule A2. So this is often a frequently asked question. So in terms of business ownership, that is reported on Schedule A2, which is investments, income, and assets of business entities. You do not need to report it again on Schedule C. And I will just reiterate in terms of loans that loans from commercial lending institutions that are made in the lender's regular course of business in terms available to the general public without regard to your official status are not reportable. The next schedule is gifts. You must report any gifts from reportable sources with a cumulative value of $50 or more on your Form 700. You may be subject to additional gift restrictions under your agency's or department's statement of incompatible activities, so please do review that as well. As a Form 700 filer, you also have a gift limit of no more than $590 from a single reportable source. That is the gift limit for years 2023 and 2024. There are some exceptions, and these are just two. One is gifts from family members, which are not reportable. And also, if you attend a conference, a gift of informational material that is shared with all attendees, you do not need to report it. There are many specifics around gifts, as well as other laws that prohibit gifts from contractors, subordinates, among others. So visit the San Francisco Ethics Commission's website, which is sfethics.org, for more information on gift rules. And if you have specific questions, please do not hesitate to contact us. You can submit an inquiry via our support portal. Next, in Schedule E, a brief reminder, the schedule is for gifts of travel or income of travel payments, advances, and reimbursements. In this schedule, you need not report reimbursement for travel on agency business from your government agency employer. And same gifts from family members are not reportable. And I will wrap up this section with just some general reminders that's important to keep in mind. The reporting period for the 2024 annual filing is the most recent calendar year. That is from January 1st, 2023 to December 31st, 2023. Your position and disclosure category will determine your reportable financial interest. So make sure to check your disclosure category and you will be able to find that on your NetFile dashboard. Reportable financial interests, as I mentioned before, include the filer's own financial interests as well as those of the filer's spouse or registered domestic partner. They also include the interests of dependent children. And with that, I will pass it over to Kevin again for some filer support and resources.
Thank you, Hannah. So yes, now we are going to talk about some filer support and resources. If we can move to the next slide. So filer assistance, where do you go if you need assistance filing your Form 700 or with your Sunshine and Ethics training? So if you are a city officer, you can contact your filing liaison for your department. You can also contact the Ethics Commission, take a look at the Ethics Commission website, and also ask questions via the Form 700 support portal. We put the link in the chat a couple of times, so the link is there for you. You can call the Fair Political Practices Commission. The phone number is listed right there. You can also contact your deputy city attorney that's assigned to your department. The best online resources are really the Ethics Commission website at sfethics.org and then also the Fair Political Practices Commission website, which the link is located on the slide. That webpage has a lot of good examples of frequently asked questions that come from all types of filers. So it's a very good resource. We also do want to mention our evaluation survey for this presentation. We will add a link to the chat for the evaluation survey. It's really for those who won't be joining us for the Q&A session. It's really just a 4-question survey that won't take more than 2 minutes and will let us know how we can keep improving these information sessions going forward. So if everyone could please fill it out, it would be much appreciated. This will be shared again as well after the Q&A session. So the people that are staying on for the Q&A session, we will share this again. And if we can move to the next slide. There are other important ethics rules that apply to Form 700, such as behested payments, additional rules on gifts and travel, conflicts of interest, and incompatible activities, among others. You can read more about these and other rules that may apply to you at sfethics.org or in the City Attorney's Good Government Guide. You may contact the Ethics Commission, your city attorney, or submit a ticket through our support portal for guidance if you have questions about your specific situation.